Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Wednesday, July 9th, and this will be the video covering the YieldMax Fund's ULTY, which is Ultra Option Income Strategy, and LFGY, the Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income Fund. They're both weekly dividend payers, and I'm on ETF Inspector 1 over on X to let you know when videos are coming out and things like that. So today we're going to go over we'll start with the announced declarations, right? For each of the funds. We'll start with the weeklies, right? I usually have them in order, but now I've got formulas preset, so I'm not going to sit and move the formulas every time. But LFGY is still the highest payer weekly-wise as far as dollar amount, a little over 48 cents. Then we've got Chippy, declared 34, almost 35 cents. GPTY 29.5 cents. RDTY a little over 30 cents. SDTY almost 14 cents, 13.98. QDTY 19, a little over 19 cents. YMax 13.47, about 13.5 cents. ULTY 9.6 cents, and YMAG 12.63. So if we take that based off of their closing price and figure out the annual yield off of that, ULTY wins again. I feel like I say that every week. 79.36% as far as the weeklies are concerned. It's also Group A distribution week, so these are in order. Number one is FEAT, F-E-A-T, $1.44, almost 144.45. 5E 102.77. TSMY for what's that? Taiwan Semiconductors 63.78. The new Berkshire ETF BERKC 50.29 cents. SNOI covering Snowflake 47.1 cent. Tesla for Tesla 38.73 cents. YBIT 38.12 cents. XOMO, it's a hard one to say, 36.49 cents. OARC 34.39 cents, and GUI for Google 30.77 cents. Percentage-wise, Tesla takes the crown on this one with 65, a little over 65%. All right, so now let's take a look. Where'd I put it? Okay, big picture, a whole lot of green. Right, ULTY was up almost 1%. Most stocks within the fund were up. LFGY also up over 1%, 1.35%. So this is a nice little run up right before our distribution. So it'll almost make it like we don't feel it coming out of the fund price. Very few losers as far as LFGY. I did save the thumbnail, right? So it's really only 4 in the red out of whatever it's at now, 20-something funds or stocks in ULTY, and then LFGY. I'll say 3 and change, because Tesla, we've been trying to get out of Tesla here for 3 days in a row now, and I'll show you why I keep on having them. If you remember the first time I put it, they'd sold all the options, then they tried to sell all the shares, but they left some, then they sold. Most recently, they sold all the shares and then sold more than what they had, so we actually have negative shares. So I'm guessing we'll close that out tomorrow. But all right, we'll start off in ULTY's trades, and I got a favor to ask everybody. If you're watching, if you normally watch these videos, tell me in the comments what would you change, right? Because I get a little bit frustrated. I make these videos and they're about 30 minutes long, and then I look at the analytics, and the average viewing time is like 9 or 10 minutes. All right, so why am I losing you, and what can I do to change that, right? Because I'm giving a lot of information, even in the back half, and I want everybody to get it. So, all right, back to your regularly scheduled program here. So we take the ULTY declared 9.6 cents. Compare it to our estimate, 9.25. This might have been my closest guess yet. I haven't been tracking it, but only missed it by 3.65%. So we're happy. It was obviously they lost 6 cents a share trading wise. According to the estimate, they only had to pay us 8.6 cents. We guessed a little higher because they've been surprising us higher, and they still surprised us even higher than that. So we are happy with that. Or tell me if you're happy. Maybe you're not. All right, we've been getting tons of new people buying into the fund, so that keeps on giving them money, and money doesn't sit around here, so we put it right to work. Bought shares in each of these stocks that we already own, just kind of adding to it. Roughly 4 million evenly split into each of them. And then everywhere where you see just a SS and a B, they sell short the call, right? That's the covered call off of that. And they buy the put that's protecting it. That's how the change that's been made to help prevent the fund price from dropping if the stocks drop, because if they do, the put value goes up to offset it. All right, so if you just have a double line here with that, that's all it's going to be, just selling more options to go with the new shares that were purchased, right? So 1427, it's going to make sense with, where'd it go? 142,700, right? Because it's 100 contracts or 100 shares per contract. So adding to that position, collecting 45,000. Oh, did I not? Oh, AMD. I forgot to color this one. Finding a mistake right off the bat. That's not good. All right, so we bought to close 505 contracts at the 138 and 360 contracts at the 140. We rolled them till next week, 144s. Something's not adding up there. 505 and 360. Yep, so that's all of these, but then we went, since we had more money, we put more money to work and sold a bunch more. So that's what the rest of that is, because we don't own any shares of AMD. We only have these spreads here. That's very strange. I'm sorry for this. So they just had put spreads before. Now we bought some calls. Now we did a call spreads. So we're kind of changing it up. So we closed out the put spreads. All right, now I got it. We closed out the put spreads. We bought 135s. We sold 144s. So we did a debit call spread now. So now we're betting it goes up. Whew, thanks for working through that one with me. What am I doing? How'd I miss this? I must have worked from the bottom up and stopped too short. All right, app closed out their 342.50s. All right, right after I ask you, how come you don't stick around for the whole video? I make mistakes and have to edit live. Okay. Oh, so AMD in that whole closeout and changing of strategy cost $875,000. AppLovin closed out their 342.50s. Obviously, that's a loss, paying $17 a share to close them out, and sold 367.50s for next week, collecting almost half as much back again. But then, since they bought more shares, they were able to sell some more to kind of offset that. So it was a $220,000 loss. AST Space Mobile closed out their 51s for this week and sold 48s for next week. Close out for 10 cents and selling for $1.10, $1.17. So that was a profit, $425,000. Nice win on that one. Rolled them to next week. We'll talk about them later. All right, Coin, First Solar, Robinhood, and IonQ, all just adding to the option strategy that's already there just to go along with the new shares, collecting $84, $73, $47, and $29,000 on those. LabVIEW, this is the triple leveraged biotech fund, closed out the $60.50 for this week, paying $4.89, so taking a loss. Had to roll them up and out, up to 68, out to next week, 250, about half as much back. So we lost $1.1 million on that one. Mara and MicroStrategy, again, adding to the option strategy that goes with the new shares, collecting 64 and 39,000. Oklo closed out our 59.50s for this week. 3,900 contracts, paying 17 cents. Nice win there. Rolled till next week. 57s what we sold for roughly $1.50, almost $1.49, $1.48. $474,000 profit. Again, they also, so this was the roll portion, and then since they bought more shares, they got to sell even more calls there to collect extra. Palantir closing out their 135s. This one's a loss, $5.99 per share to close them. Moved them up $10 to next week, 145s, 285, 251. Again, had extra shares to sort of help offset it, but not enough. $562,000 loss. Reddit closing out their 157.50s for this week, paying 28 cents and sold 149. So we rolled the next week, but we brought the price down closer and then sold some more to go along with the new shares. All in all, a profit of 181,000. Rigetti, RH, and SMCI, all adding to the option strategy to go along with the new shares that they just purchased today, collecting 81,000 on Rigetti, 14,000 on SMCI. We don't have shares, so I messed that one up. We don't have shares of RH, but we do, as we get new money in, we add to the option position that we have. This one's different, right, because we have a debit call spread because we're buying the in the money 180 and we're selling the out of the money 210. That sale is basically to just help offset the cost when you're buying this, and the hope is to go over 180 as close to 210 as possible to make the maximum profit. So that results in a negative 448,000, but the story's not over. That's not a loss. That's the purchase into the investment that we will be closing out to see if we win on Friday. SMCI, we already talked about. SMR, that's New Scale. Another winner. Closed out their 39s for this week, paying 10 cents a share on over 1,000 contracts. And we sold 38s. We dropped it down and went out to next week for 85 cents. Then even more than what we already had since we had new shares, 1,100 more contracts, and we got a better price too, 91 cents, $143,000 profit. Tempest AI, adding to the strategy to go along with the new shares, $61,000 profit. Tesla, closing these out for a win. I was a little nervous, right? So they've closed out their 315s, paid 40 cents, sold 305s for next week, $4.99. Tesla's been dropping for non-business related reasons. So when you drop that strike, there's no reason why they're not going to bounce right back up again, and then we're going to be paying to close these out. But I'm not the pro. $319,000 profit on the day. Upstart, this one's the one that hurt the most. Closed out the 74s for this week, paying $470. Opened up 82.50s for next week, collecting $1.84. Then we got some extra to go with the new shares. All in all, $2.2 million loss. Now, VRT, Vertiv Holdings, and Vistra Corp are both like RH. We have debit call spreads, so they put more money into that because we don't own shares. So these, again, look like losses. They're going to count as negative on today, but they'll count as positives on Friday when we close them out. So buying more of the 115s, selling more of the 133s, paying $367,000, and Vistra Corp buying 170s, selling 205s. Obviously, the buying ends way in the money, so cost us $479,000. So altogether, it's an ugly one. $4.2 million loss on the day for trading. Again, it's not all loss because we have 3 of those debit spreads that we're buying that we'll be closing out on Friday for a profit, but either way, it doesn't change the fact that we spent $4 million more than we brought in. Okay, when we look over at the holdings themselves to see how things went, I'm gonna try and go through these even quicker, right? So I've stopped telling you each change in market value. I think I'm gonna stop telling you the closing price too. So you can see it right there, but I'll basically tell you how much it went up or down and how far out of the money the options are. So if you're new here, you got a bunch of colors. You want to know what's going on, right? So we've got almost like the red light, green light system here. Red's bad. Yellow's it's on the good side, but it's getting close to bad, and green is good to go. So that being said, when you sell an option, you want it to close out of the money because then it's worthless and it's very cheap to close out. So if it goes in the money, that would be bad. That's why we got red. If it's getting close, you're either going to have to wait right to the end, or you might have to pay a little bit, but it is still in your favor. That's why we go yellow. And then green is greater than 5% out of the money. So that's what those are for. And then orange kind of symbolizes under construction, because the holdings, everything on this side of the chart, come out every morning. Then the right side of the chart comes from how the stocks performed during the day. That's the closing prices. Then the trades come out around 5:30, 6 o'clock. So once we get this trade information, we know all these holdings changed, but we don't have all the new information yet. So we just put orange here to correlate the two with each other. So we won't waste time talking about options that have orange next to them because they no longer exist in the holdings. So applied went up 3.87% today. That keeps their calls out for this week, 29s and 30s, 3.8 and 7.4% out of the money. AMD, we said they swapped out all these. There's no gray line here because we don't own any shares, but this whole put spread is gone and it's been replaced with a call spread. AppLovin up 2.32%. That took some of these they're all in the money. These went deep enough that they rolled them. That's why there's the orange. They still have 347.50s expiring this Friday that are 1.5% in the money. And then I get this a lot, right? If they're losing money, we're losing money all the time. How can they afford to pay this and that? But if I want you to see, anytime you lose on the trades because the stock went up too much, you end up making out better on the stock end. So let's take a look. AppLovin increased in value by just over $1 million. AppLovin cost us $220,000 on the losing that position and having to roll it. So not a big deal. We'll take it. One's realized gain, the other's not. But if the share value goes up a lot, they can afford to give us a nice distribution. It comes out on X day, and we're still at a nice high share price. So we're happy there. Next up, AST Space Mobile, the biggest loser over here, 6.5% down. Took these pretty far out of the money. They got 48s and 51s. The 51s got so far they went ahead and rolled them, closed out the win. They still have 48s that are looking like a win, 12.9% out of the money. Almost 5,800 contracts there. So Coinbase up 5.36%. They went from about 2% out of the money to 3% in the money. So we're going to need a little pullback to win these trades by Friday. Get under 362.50. First Solar up 0.3%. Still nice and far, 6.9% out of the money on those. Robinhood up 3.58%. Brought our 95s real close to the money, about 0.5% off. We still have hundreds as well that are 5.7% out of the money. 3,500 and 2,600 contracts there. IonQ up 1.3%. The 4450s are now 2.3% in the money. We also have 48s that are 5% out of the money, and 51s, I think these are for next week, they are, that are almost 12% out of the money. LabU, big winner over here today, up almost 11%. that caused our options to lose, so we rolled them, and we'll get the new information tomorrow morning. Mara Holdings up 5.37%. So these were just out of the money yesterday. Now they're 5.2% in the money. Surprised we didn't see them close those out, but maybe we'll get a little pullback. Mara's been on a run. I was just selling puts for them at like, I don't know, 13, 14 bucks like 2 weeks ago. And it even took their 18s in the money by about 2.5%. So they didn't panic. We got between the two of these, we got 23,000 shares or contracts to close out. And right now they're all losers. So we're gonna need a pullback on that one. And if nothing else, if it stays flat for the next 2 days, at least the time value will decay away. MicroStrategy up 4.65%. Another one, they were decently out of the money. Now the 410s and 415s are both in the money, 1.3 and 0.1%. Oklo up 0.77%. Their 5950s were still far enough out of the money that they rolled them for a win, and they left their 5750s 6.6% out of the money to continue to decay towards the end of the week. Palantir up almost 2.5%. They rolled their furthest in the money positions, but they still have 142s and 143s that are still there. They're 0.7 and 0.09% in the money. Reddit lost 0.2%. They rolled their further out position for a win, and they kept their 155s that are 6.4% out of the money. So easy description on that one. There's 3,000 contracts here compared to 250. So even if these, were 20, 30 cents, no big deal. Whereas, so these prices were before the day started. So obviously they went down because not only did the stock drop, but another day of time value went away. So, but still, even though they're out of the money, they're still too expensive to close. Right now, we want to get all we can out of them. So each day that ticks away, they become cheaper and cheaper to close. Rigetti up almost 1%. Took their 1350s in the money by just a fraction, 0.07%. Their 14s are still 3.6% out of the money. Boy, they've got all kinds of stuff here. We've got something like six in a row. And then they've got calls out for next week, 1450. They're 17.3% out of the money. All right, here's the first one of those debit spreads we talked about, and that's why you've got the blue here. So they've got a 180 call that they purchased and a 202.50 call that they sold. You basically sell the farther one to help generate some of the money to buy the closer one. That's how a debit spread works. And so long as the price goes up over the 180 mark, you're making money. Once it hits the 202.50, they both go up basically dollar for dollar. So right now we can't make any more money because the 180 makes another dollar. The 202.50 costs another dollar to close out. So we're sitting pretty though. That's a real nice spot, even if it just sat there. But perfect scenario would be to drop down, about 75 cents. And like I said, right, we've been talking about, a couple 100,000 here, a couple 100,000 there, look like losses each day. This was worth $2.9 million when the day started, and it went up 1.83%. So it's probably over $3 million value that we're going to get closing that out as of right now. It will drop some with time value decaying. SMCI up 1.85%. Their 49s are now 2% in the money, and their 52s are almost 4% out of the money. Roughly even split, 3,700 and 4,200 contracts. SMR, that's New Scale, up a little over 1%. They've still got their 3750s that are 5.75% out of the money. They went ahead and rolled their 39s for a win. And if I'm just using terms, roll just means when you buy to close, and then you sell to open it. Again, basically, you can roll up or down in strike price. You can roll out. We couldn't really roll closer when we're selling in the same week. But if you had sold far out, you could roll closer. But we're usually just rolling out to the next week. All right, Tempest AI down 0.17%. Their 62s are 6.15% out of the money. For some reason, they've got a little bit of a difference in the selling of the purchasing of all the protective puts. ProShares TQQQ, this is a triple leverage fund, up a little over 2%. These seem to stay in the negative throughout the week, and then we lose them on Friday and have to pay to close them out. Seems like it's been the trend. So we're just edging closer and closer. 86s are about 1.5%, and 87s are about 2.6% out of the money. Tesla dropped 0.65%. We rolled these out to next week with a lower strike price. Hopefully that doesn't bite us. Upstart's the last stock we own shares of here. It went up 3%. They took the loss and rolled the 7,000 plus contracts at 74. They still have the small position here, 500 contracts at 80 that are 2% out of the money. And then we've got two more debit call spreads. So the 115, 129, so as close to without crossing 129 is perfect scenario. We're at 128.37. So this is another one we've been, paying a couple $100,000 here, a couple $100,000 there to place the bet, and we're gonna probably be closing this out for a couple million. So that's nice. And then again, man, they seem to have hit these pretty perfect. 170 purchased call, long call, and 197.50 short call on Vistra Corp. So as close to without crossing 197.50 would be perfect, and we're at 197.01 with today's increase. So can't beat it. Again, that's going to be worth $4 million that we're going to get to cash out on that winning trade. That all resulted, mostly increases, a couple decreases in value, resulted in a $14+ million increase in value. So that coincides with generally when the stocks go up so much that we increase in value a ton. That means we blew through our call strikes and we had to pay to close them, and we lose on the trading day. But there's basically a way to win with every day. ULTY closed at 6.29. It'll be opening around 6.20 tomorrow because of the 9-cent distribution. Tomorrow's X day, so don't try to buy tomorrow to get the dividend. You're too late. Had to purchase today. 8.5 million more shares since yesterday added. We're up to 154 million outstanding shares. We're up to $960 million. I want to say we were at nine. I can't remember the exact number yesterday, but I still think we're closing Friday over $1 billion. So we're racing Palladium and we're winning. Okay, that's it for ULTY. We get through LFGY a little faster. We'll start off talking about the declaration, right? It was 48.17 cents. We said they lost 52 cents per share trading wise, but the estimate based on the IV was that they'd give us 49.74 cents. They've been paying a little above that lately, so my guess was 50, and they actually paid a little below it, which makes sense. That we're talking almost basically a whole dollar difference between losing 52 and paying almost 50. So 48 cents is still a nice dividend, nice distribution. I missed it by 3.8%. Again, that's not too far off, but I hope you're here for my information, not for my guesses, because here's facts, here's opinions. So, okay, BitDeer. Well, before I talk about it, the trades within LFGY, they do small amounts at a time, not full things. So the only thing I really highlight and talk about are the full full ones because we don't want to talk about individual trades $6 and $10 at a time. So BitDeer is one of them. They closed out, their entire position at 15 and sold more. Sold them for next week at $13.50, collecting a $96,000 profit. Right, we've got lots of odds and ends on the different stocks, but none of them being full swaps. Then we got Mara, closed out their 16s for $1.85, so that's a loss. And they opened $18.50. So generally, you'll see if they're closing something out and rolling out to the next week and to a higher price, they lost. The share price went up beyond our sold strike price. So paying $1.85, collecting like 53 cents. So we lost almost $1 million, $994,000. Mercado Libre, this is the high dollar stock, $2,600. We closed out the 2600s for this week at 95 cents a share, and we sold 2570s for next week, collecting $18-ish a share, $31,000 profit. And then the last full swap out is PayPal, closing out the 79s for this week, opening 76s for next week, and that's a $24,000 profit. So altogether, it was actually a losing day. That's all because of that $900,000 loss on Mara, $732,000 loss. So we're we're not quite flat. We're slightly in the negative after 2 winning days. We got a losing day. And as you can see, the stocks went up in value, $4.5 million. We'll talk about how on the next page. I didn't really hit it on ULTY's side, but ULTY trades a collar strategy that's, for the most part, other than those couple of outliers, where you own the shares, you sell calls out of the money to generate income, but that also caps the amount of profit you're able to, or the amount of value you're able to increase. And then they buy puts to protect the shares on the downside, so on a down day. LFGY does not operate that way. I wish they did, but they own the shares. They either just sell calls, or sometimes they will do call spreads, and then that would just kind of cap the amount that they could possibly lose if the stock were to keep on running. All right, and then they do have one situation where they trade without owning shares, and they have a situation where they own shares without trading options. And then if any of you guys were on, if you follow like the Wolf Trading on X and do the spaces, they had the YieldMax guys on there talking today, and somebody asked the question about LFGY and why it's named the way it is, crypto industry and tech portfolio. And they said the reason is this is their crypto fund, but crypto isn't a sector that's like recognized by, I think it was SEC, I could be wrong. So they had to put it in the tech sector, so they named it the crypto industry and tech portfolio, but this is their crypto fund. So that was a little interesting nugget. Okay, we'll start off. BitDeer went up almost 3%. They rolled, even though it went up, they're still so far out of the money they could still close things out for a win, and they still have a small position at 14 for next week that hasn't been touched. It's about 8% out of the money. CleanSpark was the biggest winner over here today, up 7.5%. Real nice to have the big winner not go into the money and have to get closed out. Their options are still about 0.25% out of the money at $12.50, 3 cents out of the money. Coinbase up 5.36%. They did go in the money, 3.7%, but we didn't roll them, didn't close them out. So they're counting on maybe a pullback or some time decay. Core Scientific's the big loser over here, 4.2% decrease. That took their 15s 11.7% out of the money. Circle Internet Group, that's the newest addition over here, dropped 2%. Their calls expiring this week are 13.3% out of the money. Galaxy Digital up 3.65%. They've got 2050s and 2150s. The 2150s are the ones that matter. 20 times as many contracts, 21 times, 50 contracts compared to 1,000. So they're 1.6 and about 6.6% out of the money. GameStop up 1.93%, still staying out of the money by 1.3%. So we need them to not go up another, what's that, 31 cents. Robinhood up 3.58%. 97s are still 2.6% out of the money. Hut 8 Corp up 1.82%, still 8% out of the money on those 23s expiring this week. IBIT went up 2.85%. There's no options to worry about, so it's just an increase in value, $386,000. Mara Holdings up 5.37%. That one hurt. These were already deep in the money, the 16s, but they were hoping for a pullback, and instead they got a big jump, so they had to close them out for the loss. I think, yeah, these were the ones that were the basically $1 million loss. They still have 1850s out till next week, but it's only 88 contracts. They're in danger as well, 0.2% out of the money. I messed up my coloring there. That should be red because it's in the money. MBTX is what I'm talking about. We don't own any shares, so they've got a call spread here, a credit call spread. They need these 260s to end out of the money, and they went in the money by $4.76. So that's 1.8% in the money. We need it to drop back down to win that trade, but it doesn't expire till next Friday. And then they have a debit put spread out till the end of the year, with 230 being the purchase price and 150 being the sold price. So the more it drops as it approaches 150, the more value this will have. Mercado Libre up a fraction. So they rolled out for some reason, they rolled out the 23 contracts that were almost 5% out of the money, but they still have one contract at 25.35 that's 2.3% out of the money. MicroStrategy up 4.65%. Took their 410s and 412.50s in the money, 1.3 and 0.7%. NU Holdings up 0.37%. They've got 14s for this week and 14s for next week, but there's 4,000 contracts compared to 55. So these 4,000 contracts are still 2.6% out of the money. Really surprised they didn't close these out. They started the day costing 6 cents to close out. I doubt a 0.37% increase made too much of an increase compared to another day decaying away. NVIDIA up 1.8%. 1.3% out of the money, but these need to make it to next Friday, the 165s. That's been on a heck of a run, though. NVIDIA. Opera up 1.83%. Again, out till next week with the 20s, 2.6% out of the money. PayPal down a little over 0.25%. They've got 78s that are 4% out of the money, but there's only 14 contracts there. They rolled the 79 that were further out of the money. Not $79, the 523 contracts. Riot Platforms up 5.79%. That's okay. We were nice, and we were 12% out of the money, so we're still over 6% out of the money on these, with 2 trading days left. 13s. Tesla, here's where I talked about, right, we can't seem to close this deal out. So we sold too many shares yesterday. I mean, I really doubt that they were basically just trying to short sell 10 shares in a $150 million fund, but I could be wrong. Something tells me, well, let's see. Did we see a Tesla purchase of 10 shares? No, we didn't. So we're going to have negative 10 shares again tomorrow. I'd be interested to know if this was a mistake, or if they're meaning to just have 10 negative shares. Block is the final in the fund. Increase 1.72%. We're still 2.88% away from those 71s that expire Friday. So like we said, $4.5 million increase. Value of the fund is about $154 million. That doesn't take into account today's movement. So it increased $4.5 million in value. It decreased, what do we say, 700,000 or so from trades, and then we don't know how many people bought in or not. We'll find that out in the morning. Yesterday, 50,000 more bought in, bringing us up to 3.9 million. So we closed at 40.50. So that's all I got for you, other than the dad joke of the day. And I tried to go shorter, and it's a 40-minute video. So distribution day will do that to you. Okay. Before I do, thank you for watching. Thanks for everything. Again, please comment, feedback. Let me know. It's not to say I'm going to make every single change, because one person might say get rid of something, one person say keep it. So I just want to evaluate it, see if I'm getting everybody saying the same thing. But in any case, thank you. I get the all the analytics shows me how much you guys like and comment and share, and I appreciate it. You guys have helped me hit goals real fast. I think I'm maybe 2 days away from hitting the watch time hours. So, all right. With that being said, dad joke of the day. I think this one's pretty funny. Let me know. My anniversary is coming up soon, and my wife has been leaving travel magazines all over the house as a hint. I bought her a magazine rack. I'm giving that one an A-. I liked it. All right. Have a good night, and good luck trading tomorrow. Catch you in the next video.